Yeah, well, obviously you've already sort of mentioned, the whole slipping. You've got fogging. The problem with slipping, obviously, is just the distraction and the annoyance of having to adjust your glasses. But it also changes where the optics are relative to your visual system. So it can create blur. It can create sort of prismatic effects, so you lose judgment of where things are at. So you've got that part of it. If you're in a situation where you want to wear your choice of particularly wraparound sunglasses, then being able to wear contact lenses underneath really opens up the choice of sunglasses that you've got available. And the best thing about a contact lens from a vision point of view is that you're always looking through the best optics. So because the lens moves with your eye, you're always looking through the dead center of the lens, and you're not being distracted by any sort of peripheral issues with the frame kind of getting in the way of your vision. And if we broadly talk about prescriptions being long-sightedness, short-sightedness, or hyperopia, myopia, and astigmatism, they all bring some different sort of challenges with glasses in sport. So, things like if you have to wear glasses for hyperopia, they're a plus lens. You actually lose a bit of your visual field. So if we kind of think of the extreme example of a plus lens being a set of binoculars, we know it makes a small patch of the world out there very big in your vision, but you'll lose a good deal of peripheral vision. So that happens on a mind level. And if you're short-sighted and wearing glasses, you actually potentially get a bit of doubling. Things moving outside the field of the glasses, then moving into the glasses, stops you being able to judge where things are at. And then the final part is, if you're having to turn your head, and I'm an archer, so this is a common problem with people wearing glasses. If you're having to turn your head, you're looking through not a very good part of the lens. So often there's aberrations and prismatic effects. And perhaps if you are an archer, you can get used to that after a while. But if you're shooting in different sort of positions, then it creates issues. And then so obviously someone who's in a more dynamic sport is really going to start to struggle with this changing, prism dynamic as they move their head around.
Yeah, so I can easily understand, like, if you're involved in any sort of sport where there's ball tracking involved, you really want to maximize that peripheral vision, don't you?
Yeah, and then you've got peripheral vision, and you've got fogging getting in the way, you've got sweat kind of getting in the way, the glasses getting dirty. I mean, all of that reduces how well you potentially could play. And if you're really playing at a very competitive level, every tenth of whatever counts. The difference between you and the next person might be, you both might be great, but that extra
Mm.
little tenth might give you the edge.
Yeah, and I think as we've talked about in the past too, like when it comes to like tracking things, often you have to keep your head still. So it's, that's where I think peripheral vision can really become much more of an issue. So you mentioned about wraparound glasses, and maybe that's something that a lot of people haven't considered, is that if you do wear glasses, there are some limitations into how you can get those prescriptions built into wraparounds, aren't there?
Yeah, and look, there's been some great advances in spectacle lens technology that tries to counteract the impact of wrapping a lens. And so when you wrap a lens, then you potentially get additional aberrations and different effects from having such a curved surface. And so the things that you can program into a spectacle lens to try and combat that, make the lenses thicker. There's often an upper limit on what prescription you can do, and that limit sometimes gets hit pretty quickly. And then you still have a limitation on the type of frame that you can put that in.